Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Generation Movie for you in the Christmas season. Fa la 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 lying all over the place as me, JW Colwell, your host, and my good friend and co-host from the FilmBuff Online, Mr. Rich Drees. You're having a weird week? No, that's in the movie, Rich. You fooled me. You fooled me for a second. But I have the correct answers, so it doesn't matter. Harpsichord and the SS Minnow, James. So, you know, it's an interesting week. We're going to have our good friend Natasha Bogutzki on to fight with me and fight with you. Well, she doesn't really fight with you. She actively fights with me. But we're going to have her on to talk movies and Christmas stuff. And but from what I understand, I can see it. I believe her tea kettle is boiling. So we're going to get to her in a moment. First things first. Things that have to be discussed first. If you like our show, if you like our network, if you like the Indie Escape Network, we have a YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the Indie Escape Network. Has all our episodes backlog thanks to the amazing Joe Ridgely. But also, it's a good place if you like and subscribe. It will take you less than 30 seconds to go like and subscribe and just give us a shout out. Leave some comments. Chit chat. It's a good way for us to keep track of if everybody's happy with us or not and how big we're growing and trying to grow the network. It's important. We're trying to do it. We also, of course, have a Facebook page where you can find stuff. Facebook.com, the Indie Escape. Also a great place. Like that page. Find all kinds of cool stuff. Links to our show directly there every week. And also anytime you want to talk or leave messages for the show or Joe Ridgely or the other showrunners like Wendy Zier or Game Symbolist. All of these things are there at the Indie Escape Network. And we're starting big in 2024. We're going to have a lot of good things going on. And we're going to have so many things to deal with and to go on to and to move on from and have resolutions and all kinds of things for 2024. We are in the second of our Christmas episodes, Rich. And it is the second to last show of 2023. You and I have been going pretty straight for a good, 6-8 weeks. We've been hitting it really hard, trying almost every week, except for an occasional football game here or there, for a terrible team that you don't pay any attention to with sports ball. But we are finishing up our Christmas movies this week and next week, and then we are taking a well-deserved break for the end through the holidays and the rest of the year, also my birthday. So I'm just trying to get everything in place. Comments before we move on. Let's see. We got Ken McKernan. Thank you so much for always coming, Ken. I look forward to having you chit chat with us. Good evening, friends. Good evening, Ken.
Good evening, Ken.
We also have Joe Ridgely. Good evening, lady and gentlemen. I guess that's the way to say it. That's proper.
Yeah.
That's proper English, I tell you. A three freaking point win. Yes, a team beat the Raiders 3-0 yesterday in the weirdest game I may have ever watched. It was just terrible in every conceivable fashion. It was just awful on abysmal levels that I can't even. Jesus. Good luck with your Giants. I know you'll be partially paying attention tonight, Joe. And then Zenobi Wolf Moon. Hello, Scrooged is one of Scourge. No, Scrooge is one of my favorite X movies. I hate typos. I hate typos.
Dude,
but thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
you
I
hate
mean,
typos,
I hate it when they happen.
Put up with my crap in our messaging back and forth.
No, I don't mean it like that. I don't mean I hate that somebody does typos. I hate it when they happen to me, is what I should say.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, Rich, yes. I'm wearing my Superman shirt tonight. It's a nice touch. 78 Superman is celebrating its anniversary coming up on Friday.
On Friday, yep.
I want to give it a shout out. It is the first movie I ever fell in love with. So it's my dad ran a theater in Buffalo, New York. I have all my dad theater stories. My dad ran a theater in Buffalo, New York. I was 4. And I was a ham, so I knew the entire. I did different voices, and I did the entire trial sequence in order. Is how many times I saw Superman as a child, and then I was trotted out at Christmas parties and stuff, where I could do the entire thing with Trevor Howard voice, with Marlon Brando voice, and
voice.
Also, I still have the kryptonite that my dad sold at the concession stand of that General Cinema Theater. That if you put it in the sunlight, and you put it away, it glows very much like the crystal in the movie.
Cool.
I also, the scariest Superman story is the night that movie left, my dad let me stay up, and I walked the movie to the courier van. I crying the entire way that I had to leave. Yeah, I was fucking broken. It was bad. It was bad, horrible. But I walked it. The canisters, like it was like a 12 canister film. I walked all the canisters out with the person that was the courier that had a van. That's how they delivered movies in the old days, in a van, down by the river. But yeah, but that ties into. But so Superman's one of my all-time favorite movies. Dick Donner is also one of my all-time favorite directors, just because he was so versatile in everything he did. Like, he can make Superman, or he can make Scrooge, or he can make Lethal Weapon,
or he can make The Omen, or he can make Goonies.
Yeah, he was an incredibly gifted, talented filmmaker that also, always seemed to take all these divergent parts and make them into something special. You know what I mean? And he's just one of the great filmmakers. I feel he's unsung. Like, I feel like he's a guy that's been viewed like you may love the Goonies, you may love Scrooge, you may love Lethal Weapon, you may love The Omen, you may love all these movies, but you don't necessarily put the same filmmaker behind them, which is an interesting.
And I don't mean this in like any kind of negative way. He didn't have a very, flary visual style, like say like a Sam Raimi. I mean, you watch 2 seconds of a Sam Raimi movie, you're watching a Sam Raimi movie. But he was very concerned.
He was a workman.
I would say, but I think he was even above like a journeyman director or a workman-like director, because he was also very concerned with, the emotional truth of these scenes. Something like Superman could easily have gone way off the rails. But very famously, he had the sign in the production office that said verisimilitude, which of course means to have as much reality to something as possible.
And he's also the first director for me that ever put on politics in his movies. A real heavy dose, not of course, like for just an action director, like the idea that Lethal Weapon 2 has a heavy apartheid theme that you don't necessarily find in action movies of the day. This movie has a very heavy view of poor people and how homeless people, and the idea of the outreach shelter that Claire works at. So I'm very excited about talking about this movie. Let's get some comments, and then we have a guest. She's here. She's back. For everybody,
we do have one bit of news too, also to hit on too.
Yeah, we have a couple
So.
bits of news, and then we'll get to the movie.
Okay.
But
Okay, we can break her
in a van down by the cinema. Excellent. Superman 78 is my favorite superhero movie. Before we had George Reeves' version, and it was just okay. George Reeves ducked when people threw the gun at him. I could never take that seriously. Like it's bang, 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 throw, duck. It just never worked. Christopher Reeve is my Superman. He'll always be my Superman. I mean, unless.
But the George Reeves version also, I think, has its own charms. Given that they never gave him a supervillain to fight, it was always just bank robbers
bad guys
and mad
well,
scientists.
And the Fleischer cartoons are really good too. So I mean, the 78 Superman is the gateway drug for any superhero.
And Bud Collyer voicing Superman for those Fleischer cartoons is just fantastic. His work is great.
Better late than never. Evening, gentlemen. Evening, Raven.
Raven.
Okay, so we got two stories to get to, but first we're going to bring on our guest, your co-host on the Big Picture Podcast. The Big Picture Podcast. I almost went up on it, but I had it. Natasha Bogutzki.
Hi. Sorry, I'm over here giving myself a tea facial. Hi.
Hey. Good evening.
Thank you for having me back.
That's what I love. That's what I love is I feel like we take things very seriously, and Natasha brings a knock us down a peg quality to her. Like she just, I'm gonna get a facial while I'm doing your crummy little show. Is the subtext. Is the subtext. Let's see. George was great on I Love Lucy. Yes, any of the I Love Lucy episodes where they had people chiming in, fantastic. John Wayne episode really good. It's Natasha. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, guys.
Man, my superhero is Super Chicken. Nope. No, Superman. Always Superman. Always Chris Reeve Superman. Oh my God, I need her TARDIS teapot. And then
dude, this thing is so old.
Natasha is the comedy relief. Okay. She's taking all my thunder. Natasha's now my favorite host because of the teapot.
Honey, you should have saw the shirt that I was gonna wear tonight. So those there's a couple people who know that a t-shirt that I wear every time I see Ghostbusters is Bill Murray, Christmas Bill Murray, with like a Santa hat on and everything. And I couldn't find it. I just
failure. Utter failure on your part.
Look, I'll take my top off if that makes it better.
No, I mean, it's not. That's the weirdest offer we've ever gotten, Rich. Anyway, anywho,
I went to a really liberal arts college, so
it's like a scene out of Animal. The big news of the day as the Golden Globe nominations came out. I know it's not nearly as big as news as it used to be, for obvious reasons. Plus, they're moving to CBS, which I didn't know till today. So Barbie leads the nominations with 10. It should be prefaced that it leads the nominations with 10, but 3 of them are songs. Just so we're clear. And then Oppenheimer has 8. And let's see. Oppenheimer has 8, and then that's everything else is after that. So 7 and 6.
Well, I think it's not surprising. It's not surprising Barbie has 3 best song nominations because Warner Brothers be sending out the swag on that.
Well, that's a good reason. Reviewers like free stuff. But what I'm going to say is I think it's an interesting place. I think Best Picture noms. We'll just go over the 2 categories because, of course, actually, there's 3 categories this year that are kind of fun and interesting. Best Picture, Drama, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Anatomy of Killers of the Flower Moon.
No, cinematic and box office achievement.
I'm sorry. That's my surprise to you is that there's a nomination for movies that do make box office bank.
Oh, good. So they can get the hell out of Best Picture. Oh.
Well, you can say get the hell, but Oppenheimer's not going anywhere. Like that's
no.
okay. So
that one deserves to be there.
Okay, So Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Maestro, Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest, and Past Lives. Comedy or musical, it's Barbie against Air, American Fiction, Poor Things, May December, and The Holdovers. All.
Rich, did you watch May December yet?
No, I have not.
Because according to the trailer, that doesn't look like it belongs in that category, baby.
It wouldn't be the first time that a movie is in best comedy or musical and doesn't belong there. Wouldn't be the first time. I think the most interesting nomination
was nominated in the best comedy.
I think it does have some comedy beats to it that could make it fall in like a light dramedy area. And since there isn't a category for dramedy, you have to go comedy.
I think the most interesting nomination here is Air. Air's been out over a year. And it's
April.
Yeah, but it's been out the longest of any of the movies that are nominated. Right? Mm-hmm. It's been out like that's a long time for a movie to kind of like, plus it's Amazon plus all these different things. You know what I mean? It's a great movie. It actually, when you and I saw that movie, I told you I thought it was one of my favorite movies about business that's ever been made. Like it hits all the right notes. But it's,
and then we also had Blackberry though this year as well, which I thought was, a very
in the same range
missed opportunity for a lot of people to see that movie. It was really good. I put it right up there with it.
Yeah, the movies that are getting all the anger today, Anna Diverting's Origin completely shut out, Ferrari completely shut out, and
that's insane to me.
The Color Purple completely shut out of Best
that one I'm not so surprised at.
So it does have an introduction of a new prize this year that celebrates box office achievements, and stand-up comedy performances are two different things. So we have Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour being nominated, John Wick Chapter 4, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are all being recognized for their ticket sales. Trevor Noah, Amy Schumer, and Ricky Gervais are getting attention for their stand-up specials. So, interesting kind of weird little categories we got going. But that's Golden Globes isn't the hefty nominator or denominator of what happens at the Oscars for a while. It hasn't been for a while. Last year, Everything Everywhere All at Once lost to the Banshees of Inisherin, which is a great movie, but it, obviously didn't play out to what happened with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Rightfully so, by the way. Just want to get that in there. Okay, get some comments, and then we'll go on to our second story. Let's see.
Well, while you're looking, I was very surprised by this.
Completely shut out.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Jamie Hill. Thank you for joining us, Miss Jamie Hill. I want to see the holdovers. I do too. If anybody knows about the story about the holdovers, we had a power outage in our theater, and I haven't been able to get back to it, and it's down to one show a day, and I'm waiting might have to watch it on demand.
It is on demand already. They pushed it very quickly on demand, which was stupid. I felt like Focus was leaving some money on the table there. If they had kept it in theaters, it was a nice grown-up movie alternative to a lot of what else is in the theaters right now. Yeah.
Everything I've seen of that movie thus far is spectacular.
But yeah, it's fantastic. It's a career best Giamatti performance. I've said this before, so yeah.
And I think supporting actress is going to be a real interesting race this year, because I think she's fantastic in the holdovers. I think I think her name's Randolph, right? Is it Randolph?
Devine Joy Randolph.
Divine Joy Randolph.
Got it right. By Jeopardy rules, I got it right.
She was great in Dolomite, and it was very short-lived, but man, she was hilarious. She was the comedy aspect of The Idol that was needed.
You know what I'm shocked about? Best performance by an actor in a motion picture drama. No Paul Giamatti, which is, maybe he's under comedy.
He would be under comedy, and he is.
He's under comedy. Okay, it's going to be, he's going to be best. He's going to, I think he's in the running for everything I've seen. But what's your second story? It's between
him and Jeffrey Wright in that category. But
Your second story, I don't know if everybody on Generation Movie knows, but I hate David Zaslav with a white hot passion of 7 burning suns, because he's destroying one of the great studios in the history of film, and on a regular basis he makes, we have one person, we have a couple people who defend him like passionately, even when he makes stupid decisions about trying to call there was I don't know, but I hate him. What do you do now, Rich?
well, hey, remember that really great Watchmen miniseries that they did a few years ago on HBO?
Yes.
It's probably the best thing that has come out of the DC umbrella in the last 10 years.
It was really good, highly controversial, also dealt with a lot of very grown-up racial themes like Black Wall Street and important stuff.
Well,
let me guess, it's gone, Rich. It's gone
it's
away.
gone from Max. It was on Max. It is now gone. What?
No, I was still reading the nominations. I'm sorry.
Oh,
why did you say yes? Like we got rid of the racially toned Watchmen.
No, I got excited about the Succession cast. Sorry.
Yeah, the entire Succession cast. They're all nominated. Every single one of them makes it. It kind of makes the nominations like it doesn't have anybody stand out. Everybody's just a wash in gold. Not that it doesn't deserve it. Just
yeah, but moving on. Watchmen, being taken off of HBO or Max, just is probably an indication that they're going to put it into a package that they're going to offer to some of the other streamers, like they did with some of the other DC Comics stuff already. I wouldn't be surprised if it shows up on Netflix or
yeah, I looked up on December 1st, and Netflix has everything. It's like, for a DC fan, it's like, why would I even subscribe to Max anymore? If all of the stuff I care about is on Netflix, why would I I don't think he understands the concept of streaming. I also don't think he understands I think he
with streaming there's two minds. One is we create all our stuff and it's exclusive to us, so people have to come to us, and that's kind of like what Netflix does. That's kind of what HBO Max did prior to Zaslav becoming CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery. It's kind of what Paramount Plus does with Star Trek. The other idea is we make a bunch of stuff and we license it out to everybody else. And, we kind of rent it out. We're landlords of this property. So we don't keep it for ourselves. And that's Zaslav's idea, not realizing he has the place that people want to come to.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I will say that Max has become, we have the Furiosa trailer that's been out for the last 2 weeks. Max has become the apocalyptic streaming place where it's very hard to find anything you really want, and it's surrounded by celebrities making dinner, celebrities selling houses, poor people selling houses, poor people renovating their terrible houses, or other things where you just get naked documentaries. There's more naked documentaries on Max than any other streamer. So I think he's very much I'm going to cut off my nose to spite my face.
Guys,
no matter what happens.
I'd kill this whole segment.
Well, we're kind of live. It is? Or it's leaving. Oh. Excuse me, it's leaving.
It had disappeared briefly as some sort of glitch, and now it's back up on the platform.
It's okay. I'm never going to kill this
craziness.
I'm never going to kill the segment. So what happened here, Natasha, we don't need to kill the segment, because what happened was everybody noticed it and freaked out, and then they put it back. It's what they did the last time anybody noticed. It's the Looney Tunes thing all over again. It's Looney Tunes is scheduled to leave. Oh, we made a mistake.
There's a reason why I couldn't find anything about this story.
I think he does things. I'm not going to lie, Rich. I think he does things to test them out first. He flies like the balloon up. Let's see how they react to losing Watchmen. let's see how they react to losing Looney Tunes. Like, I just think he does it. I think he's just a douchebag, like of the highest order.
I think he also
I'll
does
agree
it.
with you that he's a douchebag.
I think he also does it not just to test viewers, but to push the viewer ratings up on something. Because if people have something that they really like, and then they're no longer interested in it, but you know that the potential is still there, and you want to get more interest back after a long period of time, well, threaten them. Well, if you're not playing with that toy anymore, I'm just going to take away the toy and get rid of it, replace it.
God, he's the worst. That makes it worse in the time. You've just made him worse.
Yes, it makes it worse, but we've already established he's a douchebag.
He's a bad person. Do you not like him as much as Howard the Duck? Okay,
you're
so
no longer playing with that toy. We're going to take away that toy. The moment you threaten them with taking away the toy, they start playing with the toy again.
So on my other show, Loud and Nerdy, I hate the Howard the Duck movie from '86. It's a widely known fact. So somebody wrote, do you not like him as much as Howard the Duck? I actually, I'm going to say this with all due diligence. I don't like him more than I don't like Howard the Duck. I can live with portions of Howard the Duck. I can't live with Zaslav. I'm upset at the Supergirl rumor being replaced as true. That's definitely true. That's definitely going to happen. She was fantastic in The Flash. She was one of the only good. Her and Keaton were the two good reasons to watch The Flash. Disappointing Westworld series taken off the HBO streaming service. Get used to it. You're gonna have the different streamer. Because it's gonna run it out. I heard that too. She was a shining spot in the Flash movie. She was.
Yep. Oh yeah.
One of the better parts about
Agreed.
it.
Since I didn't watch the series because I'm late to the game, as a poor laugh out loud.
I didn't watch it either, Raven.
Point. I'm just turning into Doom Patrol now. You better hurry, Ray. Like, I don't know how long things are gonna be around. Joe wrote, Max's navigation sucks. Also, I have Discovery Plus and Max, and Max has Discovery stuff. Well, Discovery Plus and Max have kind of emerged a little bit, and they're going to get rid of Discovery Plus. Also, if you're not paying attention, I don't know who subscribes to Disney yearly, as I do, because I was one of the people at the beginning that was paying $7 a month for Disney, or $6 a month, or whatever the hell it was. Because I paid yearly, so I'm still paying yearly. Hulu is going to be its own section on Disney by February. Mm-hmm. I already have the beta up and running. I don't know how it's going to go.
Have you looked at the beta for Hulu though on Disney Plus?
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of shows. Yeah, it doesn't have the categorization that regular standalone Hulu has. It doesn't have Hulu Live yet, which is a big reason why I have Hulu. Is for live.
It's weird. It's like it's a Pixar movie. It's like all the Pixar movies in one place. It's like, do you want to watch dirty adult stuff? Here's all the dirty adult stuff right here. And it's more than a second before a kid clicks onto American Horror Story inadvertently instead of A Nightmare Before Christmas. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. And for the horror show that will occur in our zeitgeist.
Oh, I can't wait! I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, it'll be great. Oh no, I have this Discovery Plus through my Amazon Prime. Not like it's very much the Lex Luthor moment. My mother lives in Hackensack. Not for long. We won't have Disney Plus again until my partner gets an income. Fair. These streaming services have become the new cable. Disney Plus really needs to get Tales from the TARDIS. Sucks you only can see them in the UK. Also fair.
I don't know if they still are, Raven, but at one point they were available on the YouTube if you knew where to look. And they're worth checking out as an old school Doctor Who fan. There are a few moments that really got me choked up. So,
but and as great as this is, we are here to celebrate old movies. That's what we do on the show.
Yes, we do.
And
it is a movie that has some time travel involved, so this counts.
That's true.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Scrooged, ladies and gentlemen. Scrooged. Bill Murray, Richard Donner. Loads of fun for the entire family. Actually, not really. But really fun for people our age, Rich. And it starts with production on this one, as we always start.
Yeah, and I'm I'm going to kind of jump in on this here for a little bit, because one of the two people who wrote this movie, Michael O'Donoghue, who wrote this with Mitch Glazer, is one of my all-time favorite writers from early, like the first 5-6 years of Saturday Night Live. He started off working at National Lampoon and was one of the people that were he was like the first person cherry picked by Lorne Michaels when he was developing SNL at NBC right after Chevy Chase. And he was known for his very caustic, sarcastic, dark sense of humor. During Saturday Night Live, he was a frequently, appeared on stage as a featured cast member almost before they had the concept of featured cast members. And he did things like, did you ever see the very first Saturday Night Live that opens with a sketch where John Belushi comes in as an immigrant and he's learning the English language? The teacher is repeating, I will feed your fingertips to the Wolverines. And then the teacher has a heart attack and Belushi has the heart attack and falls over. Chevy Chase comes on and goes, live from New York. And that other person opposite Belushi is Michael O'Donoghue. Michael O'Donoghue is technically the very first person who was ever seen on Saturday Night Live. And as being a bit of a caustic person, he, was on the show, then he was off the show, then he was on the show. But ultimately, several years later, he was out in Hollywood working on, selling some screenplays and stuff. He had teamed up with Mitch Glazer. They pitched a few things. They actually had a movie called Arrive Alive that was pitched to Paramount. Paramount picked it up. It went into production. It starred Willem Dafoe as like this sleazy hotel detective. Unfortunately, Willem Dafoe could not do comedy, and so the studio shut it down after about 2 weeks of shooting. They just looked at the rushes and were like, yeah, no. So O'Donoghue and Glazer went back to the drawing board and they came up with Scrooged.
I think the interesting thing here is when you read about the production and you talk about the history you just gave us with regards to Michael O'Donoghue and Glazer, Mitch Glazer, who worked on the film, had both worked with Murray, and the biggest problem screenwriting was figuring out what to do with the denouement, the end of the movie, right?
Yes.
And they were able to come up with a concept that in Christmas Eve in New York City is the only night of the year that New Yorkers are nice to other New Yorkers, and it was something they could live with in their acerbic hearts. That's fantastic, and it ties in everything you're saying. The idea that these two, and the movie is, I in the rewatch today, what I discovered is, and I think it's partly because I knew Natasha was coming on, and we're gonna have a big discussion because I know she's not a huge fan of the movie. It is a little vitriolic.
Okay, well,
but you and I like that shit, so
yes, that's true. Now
we like hard satire.
As you were starting to lead in that how they wrote the end of this movie, and then Bill Murray, who was kind of like nervous about playing what this was, and I read the script to this earlier this evening, and it was just like, oh yeah, this plays a lot different. Bill Murray just kind of improv'd his whole ending there, and I like the idea of that. You've got to be greedy for that Christmas spirit. I think that's a great a great way to phrase that.
You gotta want it. You gotta want it every day.
Yes.
I think that plays well.
Yeah, but Mr. O'Donoghue was not happy, and I have here Dennis Perrin's great biography on Michael O'Donoghue. If you're a Saturday Night Live fan,
pull that out of your archive.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
If you're a Saturday Night Live fan, if you're a comedy fan, if you're a Harvard Lampoon, National Lampoon fan, highly recommend this book. It's really well researched, and to the point here, though, talking about how Bill Murray changed the ending of Scrooged. he quotes O'Donoghue in an interview with Premiere Magazine somewhere in the mid or early 90s.
Oh, I miss
And
Premiere Magazine.
I do too. Okay. But Michael O'Donoghue said, quote, only about 40% of what Mitch Glazer and I wrote made it onto the screen. And even that got twisted. We wrote a fucking masterpiece. We wrote It Happened One Night. We wrote a story that could make you laugh and cry. You would have wanted to share it with your grandchildren every fucking Christmas for the next 100 years. The finished film was a piece of unadulterated, unmitigated shit. I have seen that picture once, and I will never see it again. The only good thing is that the big checks came out of Scrooged, which allowed me to get a home in Ireland. So Michael O'Donoghue wasn't too happy with how this movie turned out.
Well, and both Murray and Donner aren't happy either. Like Murray, Murray in an interview with Roger Ebert said it could have been a really, really great movie. The script was so good. Him and Donner did not get along on this set. So this is it's interesting. This is a set, we talked about sets being rife with conflict, but Donner was the most good-natured person, never really talked badly about anyone. He said about Murray, superbly creative, but occasionally difficult. As difficult as any actor I've ever worked with. Donner said that Murray was always in a professional mental state of being, believing it made him stressed, so the crew could do silly things to improve morale. And Donner felt that his working with improvisational comedians like Murray before, you can't direct Bill Murray and pull him back. And
no.
So you have a whole thing rife with, you have screenwriters unhappy. You have an actor who is like, I think the movie, if we had done this script, would have been great, but then ends up improvising a lot of his own shit. Then you have Donner, like in the direction Murray said he got tons of direction was make it louder, make it bigger. And that reminds me of I had a director in college doing a show called The Liar, and it was very much, I was playing a clown, and all the guy said to me, the only notes I got were, make it bigger, make it louder. And his name was Zeev Bendov, and he was a great director, but I got nothing from him. I got nothing. So I think Murray and Donner having a fight, not figuring things out is wild. And also, like, Murray saying he doesn't really watch the movie. I haven't talked about it. I don't discuss that movie a lot. Is crazy. And especially when you consider that Murray is coming off, he takes this movie, he gets paid $6 million because Art Linson talks him up as the only person that can open a movie aside from Eddie Murphy in the comedy realm, which is also an interesting thing because we have an Eddie Murphy Christmas comedy movie this year. A couple comments and then we'll get to let's see. Got to go way back. See, look, Frank, it's a toaster. JW, why always gotta cut me a who talk? Nah, bring on the main topic, laugh out loud. I wasn't trying to. Why are you punching? What are you doing? There's no violence allowed on our set.
I'm the violent one. I'm the cute little violent one.
It was and still is since I was a teen. I watch at least twice a year, every year. That's fair. Bill Furman is a goat, turquoise, white horns. Okay. Ouch. Yeah, she's punching the camera. Signs of age. Sometimes I really miss picture-in-picture TV, especially on nights like tonight. Giants wouldn't be on the mute. Great conversation here would be on the same time. Yeah, we don't have those anymore. I miss picture-in-picture too. O'Donoghue made bank, and he's complaining, shaking my head. Well, I don't think it's that. I think. Yeah, go ahead, Rich. I think
O'Donoghue was very particular about his writing. He worked, very hard, crafted it, and then if people couldn't deliver on what he wrote, or he felt that they weren't delivering, he could be very withering and sarcastic about it.
Kind of like Aaron Sorkin. It's
a little
written
bit, yeah.
a specific way to be delivered a specific way. You don't.
Well, no, but I don't know that Cadence had anything to do. I think what you're seeing from O'Donoghue when you look at the production side of this is that they just changed everything. Like it got to the point where
when Bill Murray, O'Donoghue was on set when Bill Murray went off the reservation or off script at least, and at the end of it, all the everybody's applauding, going, "Oh my God, Bill just improv the great scene, yay!" And O'Donoghue just said, "What is this? The Jim Jones hour?" Because he felt like he was just ranting like a crazy person. And
I thought he was ranting like a crazy person. I felt like that whole ending had no structure.
That he and Mitch Glazer put into the script.
Well, and here's an even good-natured people have lines they don't want to cross. Sometimes you can just fake being nice to someone. Amazing, you can't see any of the tension in the movie. That's the thing. But that Raven is an interesting thing Rich and I have been noticing in all these movies, right? Rich, you read about the production, like last week we did Bishop's Wife, and Cary Grant and Loretta Young hated each other. They hated each other where they never talked or filmed another movie together, despite the chemistry that was involved. I can't believe a studio didn't sit them down and say, look, you guys are so good. We're going to put you in a romantic comedy somewhere, down the line. And then I got this on my phone, a game on my tablet. Thank you, Raven. We're at least worth half the picture in picture.
50%.
I think the production, the budget on this movie in '88, by the way, just so we're clear, $32 million. That's a lot of money, Rich, in '88.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. We've been discussing it, but I will say this: rewatching today. Are you sneezing at me now? Now you're aggressively sneezing. I will say this today: the effects look great. The effects and the production, effects-wise, haven't waned. It looks good. The practical stuff looks good. Even the visual stuff, where that could look cheesy, doesn't really look cheesy for a movie that's so old.
Pushing Bill through the
glass window is really nice, and in 4K you could think it might look shitty, but it didn't. And
wow,
so,
that's good. And honestly, the Ghost of Christmas Future freaked me out when the movie came out, and it's still really freaking creepy. I love that monitor for a face kind of a thing.
Can I tell you my favorite moment is Elliot Loudermilk showing up, and the Ghost of Christmas has his hand. It's like, oh, Elliot's here. I gotta go. Like, it's just a big hand, and then it's one of my favorite things. Elliot's here. I learned Max Wright strangled the Alf puppet. Oh, well, that's terrible because Alf was amazing. I love Alf.
Huh, Willie.
Oh, before you get up for the final snack. Oh, well, I'll be right back. Oh crap, 88. I wasn't a teen. I was 10. Laugh out loud. That's okay, Sean. I was 14.
I was in college.
There you go. Rich is
I actually saw this movie for the first time at a drive-in like late April, early May.
I saw it at the General Cinema in Wilkes-Barre. I saw it before Rocky Horror one night. So I went to see this. I saw Scrooged and I saw Rocky Horror. Okay.
I wasn't a twinkle in my daddy's eye for 7 years.
Well, but I'm sure you were a twinkle. I mean, you've been a twinkle for all of us. Box office. Let's get into it.
Before we get to box office, really quick, sure. I want to point out a number of small roles and cameos in this movie, and some people who were not yet who they become.
All the Murray brothers.
All the Murray brothers are here. Yeah. Brian Doyle Murray plays young Frank's father, and John Murray plays Frank's brother, and Joel Murray plays one of the other friends who come in to that party.
Joel Murray, by the way, in Moving Violations, one of the worst, greatest movies ever. Like that, just a horrible movie, but so much fun. Go ahead.
Also at that party is Wendy Malick, who would go on to be on Just Shoot Me, Dream On, and a number of other shows. A great comic actress. And the third gentleman at that party, the guy with the long hair in the back, That was Mitch Glazer, the co-writer of the movie. However, Michael O'Donoghue also has a scene. He is the priest during the crematorium scene. The
That makes
nurse,
perfect sense. It's the
the
darkest scene in
nurse
the movie.
on set is Kathy Kinney,
You would
who
know
then goes
as
on to do the Drew Carey
Drew
show.
Carey show. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's
Um,
the cast in this movie is stellar. The
Yep.
cast is off the chart.
Anne Ramsey from Throw Mama from the Train and Mama Fratelli
and the
from the
Goonies.
Goonies is the old woman at the shelter, and one of the two other gentlemen there with her is her husband. And the
Also,
street
one of the two
musician.
gentlemen there is Michael Pollard.
Yes, the other guy is Michael Pollard. Yes,
Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde.
And did you notice the street musicians?
Well, it's actually Miles Davis. The street
Miles
musicians,
Davis, David Sanborn on saxophone, and Paul Schaefer.
It's like you guys learned this song yesterday. Take money from the Hicks.
It's a phenomenally stacked cast when you start looking at like these little things. You know, obviously it was probably fairly easy to get the Murray brothers in. And it was nice that Bill threw them all a bone like that too.
Well, and his younger brother, it's a significant bone. I mean that is one of the great relationships in the movie is, you know, the little wooden frame and like, thanks for being a great big brother. We'll get to that in a moment. Box office is next. And here's the thing, you know, we do use by the numbers. It's a great place to look. So it's a $32 million budget. It grosses $13 million in its opening weekend. Opening weekend theaters, it's 1,252. It opened November 23rd, 1988. It would balloon to a maximum amount of theaters of 1,897. And so it ends up grossing $59 million in the winter of 88. The adjusted inflation adjusted income is $152 million, which is a pretty significant hit. If you had a $152 million movie coming out around Christmas this year especially, you'd be ecstatic. $152 million, you'd be like, thank you, baby Jesus, for that. And I think the box office is interesting in the sense that, you know, the most interesting thing about the box office and is the budget. This budget is huge. Like, for an 80s movie, this budget is astounding. When you look at it, you just like, that's a lot of money. That's an absolute, you know, 32 million, Rich. Because we're going to talk about a movie next year that was made 2003 for the same budget. So, I mean, I'm just saying, when I looked down and said 32 million for the budget, but then you start taking into account, one of the things that you have to take into account, Bill Murray's earning $6 million for this movie. He gets $6 million. It's a leading man salary. So that cuts everything else down to 26. And then you got to figure with all the stars in this movie, a lot of it is going towards star salary. And Richard Donner, who at this point has had so many hits under his belt, it's not even funny. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see what his take home on this movie was and if he got gross points or not. But that's the budget. That's the amount of money. And the gross injustice at 152 would be respectable anywhere right now. If you could open a comedy for $152 million, Rich, somebody in Hollywood would go, yes. Yes.
Indeed.
Let's go critical response now and then. And this is where we'll talk about it, as well as Natasha will talk about it. Because Natasha, for folks, I don't think she likes it as much as we do. But I will say the interesting thing here, we use Rotten Tomatoes as just kind of a source, a resource. 71% critics like it. 71% of the audience like it. One of the more consistent movies you'll see. with both audience, like, and I think this movie has an interesting thing going on then and now. I think then it was viewed as very crass, and it's sort of over time become a movie that people love or you don't love. But I think it's very much a movie that is split down the middle. You either love it, like the way Rich and I do, or you fucking hate it with every passion of your being because it's so vitriolic and a little bit misogynistic and all these things going on in it. It's crass commercialism and consumerism that kind of jumps up, and you either buy into God bless us everyone or you don't on this one. So some of the reviews are kind, like going back because it's sort of split down. 71% is only 11% more than makes something fresh. So this is most of the reviews in a nutshell. John Ferguson from the Radio Times. It's a missed opportunity, but some gags still hit the mark, and there's a stream of stereo cameos that make it feel okay, which is, I guess, a reasonable review. And that's what you get from a lot of it. Like, some of the jokes really land. Like, if you're telling me that you don't think The Night the Reindeer Died lands, it's funny. Lee Majors, you've been a good boy this year, Lee. Yeah, you have. The true meaning of Christmas Scrooge thing, I'm not so sure on, because it's like, I think it's a little scary. Acid rain.
Now, Roger Ebert did not like this movie at all. Do we need to stop for a second, or
are you okay, or are you reading something else?
I was reading one of the comments. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Roger Ebert's review, he said, Scrooged is one of the most disquieting, unsettling films to come along in quite some time. It was obviously intended as a comedy, but there's little comic about it, and indeed the movie's overriding emotions seem to be pain and anger. And again, it's a Michael O'Donoghue film. What did you expect? But there's comedy, but it's a comedy born of pain and anger. And I see this as like a very vicious attack on the crass commercialism of television from somebody who got beat up a little bit by the television process while working on Saturday Night Live, so that he would turn around with some sharpened knives and kind of stab it in the back. Really makes sense to me.
I think you're coming at it with a completely. I think your viewpoint in this movie is completely unique because of how much you like the writer and how much you know what he personally went through. But I understand it. Now, let's do some comments, and then I would like to talk to Natasha about how she hated this movie, because I want to get her in. Let's see. Joe wrote, I was 12. Kathy wrote, I was 14 and the ghost scared me when I first watched it. Which ghost? Because they're all kind of like, they're all pretty spooky. Let's see. Got to see it in the theater original release. I was 20. There you go. Joe Rizzi, you're old. Laugh out loud. Just kidding. Ken writes, didn't hate Scrooge, for sure not a favorite. Favorite Scrooge movie is 1970 Scrooge. Is that what you're excited about?
Ken, was that the Albert Finney one you're talking about? Because that's my favorite.
It is. He's already said it.
Yes!
He said it last week in a comment. So it's your yes this week, but you didn't even pay attention to the comment last week. Just saying. Now you're attacking me like you're the ghost of Christmas present. The death one is what she's talking about. Ghost of the Future, and then it is. I think the movie, for me, I've always viewed it as a Bill Murray set piece, right? I think the movie has grown on me in the sense that I enjoy the actors on the side of Murray a lot more than I used to. Like, I think this is one of Bobcat Goldthwait's better performances. I think Karen Allen's really good in it. I think, Karen Allen has that one sequence where she gets to be the total evil, scrape the urchins off moment that we never really get Karen Allen gets to do. I think Alfre Woodard is unheralded in this film, in a sense, because she's playing this poor mother, and I think the ghosts
Bob Cratchit.
for me, yes, she has the Bob Cratchit role, and she is the Tiny Tim, the child who won't speak and is dressed up like a tree, which is one of the funny. That's so funny. Turn him off. Get that stuff off him. Turn him off. Oh, he's even cuter than last year. Like that's why don't they have a tree? They're too poor because you're a tightwad. And she starts flicking his ear. I love the ghosts too. I like the style of the ghosts. I like the New York Cabbie version. I like the Sugar Plum Fairy that's kind of like decadent and evil. Like I think she's funny. I love and the X appears and then she smacks him in the face. So I enjoy all of that. I think Murray's performance is manic, and it hits a crescendo near the end where they're trying to do everything. I think they leave some performers on the table that they could have probably gotten more of. You could probably get more out of Buddy Hackett. You could probably get more out of Robert Mitchum, but Mitchum's great. Like I think this is one of those movies where Mitchum is like, I'm doing a favor for Richard Donner, and I'm just here to be like he delivers his lines with such gravitas of a classic actor, where he's just like, do you know how many cats live in the United States?
Yeah.
How about the number of dogs?
Nope.
Call the police. But I think that's your screenwriter looking at it going, hey, this is whatever. Now, is it the best version of A Christmas Carol? No, it's not. But it's for people like us that really enjoy Saturday Night Live, and for me who's always been a Bill Murray fan, even with the transgressions we've heard about later in life. I think it's a solid movie. It's not. I don't know that it's it's probably my top 5, but it's probably my top 10, but not my top 5 Christmas movies. But it's a movie I'll go back to all the time.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this for Buddy Hackett's performance here, playing Scrooge. I kind of want to see what he would have actually done in a full-length production of
Scrooge. Yes, with the Scrooge, and Jamie Farr is Marley, is Jacob Marley. We haven't even talked about it.
Mm-hmm. I think Hackett probably had that itch that a lot of comic actors have of wanting to not be a clown and do something dramatic. And at least here, within the confines of the ridiculousness of, hey, Buddy Hackett is Scrooge, in the overall
he's really
ridiculousness
trying hard.
of 1980s TV movies that they just threw names at roles without much consideration. I think he maybe saw that a little bit to, hey, you boy.
Okay, Natasha, I'm going to open it up. What are we getting wrong, Natasha? What's your take on this movie?
Oh, that's the Woodbridge Reserve. Oh,
do you want to jiggle some tab into it? Do you want to jiggle some tab into it? It's one of my favorite jokes, by the way.
Tab?
Okay.
You can in Florida.
I feel like you're putting me in the antagonist seat, in the hot seat here, by saying that I hated this movie.
You had said to me last week that you did not like this movie. I am sorry if you feel I'm putting you in the antagonist seat, but I feel like I'm open to listening to what you're going to say about the movie because I respect your opinion.
Oh, thank you. That would be the nicest thing I've heard all day. I'm still going to rip this movie to shreds, but thank you. Okay, so I just finished watching it this morning.
Is this the first time you're seeing it?
Second.
Okay.
First time was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. It doesn't get moving until I think Carol Kane shows up. And that's kind of sad that your movie doesn't really seem like it starts finding its feet and starts pacing out well until the second half of the film. That's not a good indicator. Okay, I'm gonna be thoroughly honest with my own personal bias here. there is something about Karen Allen that irks me the wrong way. So anytime she shows up in a movie, I just want to punch her in the face. I don't know what it is, but I do. And I
Wow.
know that of every man of a
This
certain
is going
generation, I just
so
pissed
far
her off.
so far worse than I could have imagined. Go ahead. Continue.
I think some of the special effects are fantastic. I loved Alfre Woodard. The tree joke does not land with me. Until Carol Kane showed up, there was only 2 moments that I laughed at during this movie. And one of them was a joke. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they put that in there. It was the Richard Pryor joke. The other one was just
the Richard Pryor joke is
going,
I don't know if that was improv or Michael O'Donoghue and Glazer. I don't know if that was improv. I think it was improv. I think it had to be improv because there are a couple jokes in this movie where you just go, what just happened? And that's fair. I think
I thought the cabbie was a very young Benicio del Toro for a few minutes until I actually had to Google it. And I was like, okay, that's not Benicio del Toro, but.
So you didn't like the cabbie section of the movie? I think the cabbie section.
I fucking hated the cabbie section of the movie.
Really?
Let me say it wasn't so much that I didn't like the backstory they were telling. I think Bill Murray's performance when Niagara Falls begins, I feel that's genuinely moving and it does hit him. I don't think the rest of it works there. The party made me roll my eyes so many times.
The 80s are a different time.
It's the cabbie himself. And again, just another character I really just wanted to punch in the face. First off, how bad is your damn breath? If your teeth look like that. I was just like, oh.
Well, he's supposed to be dead.
Was he?
Yes. Okay, so I just want
there's a lot of issues.
A counterpoint. The first sequence, I love the first ghost. I love looks like our dad forgot the lights this year. It's Christmas Eve, Frank. I also love the very, very smart pieces of the script where Bill Murray's talking about things he did when I was a kid, and he's like, that was the courtship of Eddie's fathers. That was, they start going through old TV. Was it
that was a good moment?
Was it the homecoming episode of Little House? Yes, Frank. Yes. It was the homecoming episode of Little House.
And also, I absolutely understand that section. And I love that section because I'm thinking about like the psychological effects that you have if you don't have much of a life as a child. And I'm speaking from personal experience here. Like I didn't have a lot of friends when I was very young. I was the weirdo of the neighborhood. So I locked myself in my bedroom.
Nothing has changed. You're still a great weirdo. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I'm actually people love that now.
The nerds have been inherited the earth, which is great for all of us and our egos. But it is what it is.
Yes. But what I'm trying to say here is I understand how sometimes your developmental memories might be mixed up with something that you watched, thinking that you lived. Because even now and then I have a little bit of like butterfly effect thing where I remember something and I'm like,
that's not the butterfly effect. That's the Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Thank you very much.
It's not the butterfly. The butterfly effect is I'm
you know what I was
flapping my hands. I'm flapping my hands in Florida and it makes your house warmer in Pennsylvania. That's
my
the butterfly
house is getting warmer. That or it's the booze because my cheeks
it's the booze. It's definitely the booze. So you seem to have a problem with do you have a problem with the actors in the movie? Do you have a problem with the movie itself?
I have a problem with the movie itself. The pacing is off. the jokes don't particularly land. A lot of it does feel okay. So, for example, I'm going to compare.
Give me a joke that doesn't land, because I will. What I will open it up is Rich
What
and I
was
will
that
look
one
at
you
it.
just mentioned about the lights? It's Christmas Eve, Frank.
Oh, the every other house in the shot has lights on it.
No shit, I can
And
see it. You don't have to
but
explain.
Frank, right? But Frank makes the excuse of, looks like my dad hasn't gotten to the lights yet, because he's embarrassed about being there and his light. There's no lights on their house.
He's
And
still
he's
making
embarrassed.
excuses for his piss poor father.
If you
Yeah.
have to
I don't
explain
know
the
if that's
joke,
really
the
much of a
doesn't
joke,
land.
to be honest. I mean, I
No,
don't
it's
think
not
that's
a
much
joke.
of a joke.
It's
It's
a
a sad
moment.
moment.
It's a sad
where-
moment where he's trying to cover for his dad in front of the ghost.
Mhm.
It's not.
And the
it's
ghost
not
is
a
calling
happy
him on his
moment.
bullshit.
Right, and like the great thing about that shot is he's fixing his suit, and he's like, "Oh, looks like my dad hasn't gotten to the lights yet."
Okay,
Frank, it's Christmas Eve.
someone in the comments here, or the two gentlemen in front of me, give me a joke from the first half of the movie before the ghosts show up, or the first third. Someone, anyone, I don't care. A joke.
How about I can give you one. How about we're having trouble getting these antlers on this little fella. Have you tried staples? You don't feel that lands?
No.
Oof. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, remember the tart is on a bigger on the inside. Who knows how much alcohol you actually poured in that cup?
I
Different
poured
cup. It was a different cup. It was a different cup.
All right, nice try
I'm so
though.
glad we're still in a TARDIS. Shut your mouth. Buster Poindexter is awesome. Yes, Jake Johansson is also Buster Poindexter. Very good, Joe. You've aged us all.
I really did
the
not
Ghost of Christmas Past is my favorite
find the
ghost.
jokes. I think they're
Okay.
a product of their time.
Interesting. That's an interesting statement. Okay, that's fair.
So there's two comparisons I'd like to make here in terms of 80s Christmas comedies. Scrooged versus, say, Christmas Vacation. Both have SNL cast members as leads. But I think Christmas Vacation is universal thematically, in terms that you can look at that film now, particularly with some of like the family dynamics and, you know, Christmas time and your annoying fucking neighbor next door that you really
You have a lot of anger and you want to punch a lot of people. I'm just throwing it out there. This is the second show in a row where you're like, you actively want to punch people. I'm just throwing it out.
It's been a rough Monday.
I care, sweetheart. I care.
But I feel like that lands a little easier because people can look at that film and go, yeah, that's happened. That's happened. Not quite, but pretty close.
This is a fantasy comedy. This is not like Christmas Vacation is fantastic.
A lot of the film is very much stuck in the 80s in Scrooge, whereas Christmas Vacation feels timeless. You could watch it 60 years from now and it will still land. Scrooged is a product of its time. It's very much stuck there and it's not aged well, and it's not going to age well in 60 years. It's going to die.
Interesting. Okay. It's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, that's a fair, because there is like, that is one thing when you look at it, the 71% split on Rotten Tomatoes, 71 critics, 71 audience. There is very much a thing about this movie, Rich, that is you either really get it and love it and just go all in on it, right? Like acid rain. You know, like the whole Scrooge commercial, right? Or The Night the Reindeer Died is one of the great things. I will say I was able to, I do want to show something to Rich that I know you probably don't care about, Natasha, because you don't love the movie. But Rich, I was able to find it, and there's the screen grab. If you look at Frisbee's tree, it says Dick and Lauren on it, which is really cute because it's, of course, Lauren, his wife, and Richard Donner. But I think for me, the movie lands through sheer comic, and you're kind of. I feel like the first Ghost is good though. Like I feel like I love that. I love that the thing you get from Frank when you're watching him with the first Ghost, Rich. It helped me on this one. The thing you get from Frank is embarrassment, right? He's crying. He said he's not going to cry. The Ghost embarrasses him by walking into the door, and he's like, "I love that one. I love it," right? And does all
Mhm.
those things. And then he's embarrassed about the lights. He's embarrassed that he's not getting a choo-choo train. He's embarrassed that don't stay up too late, Frankie Angel. Go to bed. TV will hurt your eyes. And then the line that I think sums up that opening sequence of the Ghosts is he says Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel, and he's like, "I'm not crying about that. I'm crying about which with the gift that child just received, $40 for a piece of milk-fed veal." You know what I mean? So I think it's embarrassment, and then it becomes. I'm going to point out to you the thing that I think makes the first segment work, Natasha, and you really notice it and pay attention to it when the frisbee sequence starts. Bill Murray gets up. The first thing that happens with the first frisbee sequence, he gets up and he's moving. Right, he's on the stands and he's moving. And as that sequence plays out with the first time that Claire and him break up, he's waiting for for me. I think when you look at as you get older, and I'm way older than you are, as you get older, those sequences become emblazoned in your head of like, I could have changed things had I not fucked up there. Right. And so for me, I think that's it, like Bill Murray sweating it out because he's on the dais with the Ghost, and the Ghost is like, "You gave up Claire for Frisbee the dog." And then it just spirals out of control. And he's forced to watch that horrific decision. Like, this is the head of the studio. He doesn't make decisions. Like, we have friends. We're going for Christmas. We've known about it for months, and maybe we need some time off. And he just lets her go. I think that's, for me, that's and also their chance meeting is actually really well. I think it's a cute meeting. And I can,
the meeting's great.
Even though you want to punch Karen Allen,
yes.
which I think is one of the most extreme reactions to Karen Allen I've ever heard.
When that happened and she walked out, I paused the movie, got up, and walked away. And I was just like, "Oh my God, I gotta slow my roll and cool down and go back in there." Because that meet cute was actually really fucking good. But why did it have to be Karen Allen?
So a couple things. You do have somebody fighting you on this. The whole thing with the Ghost was to show Frank the error of his ways, not to just show him around the town.
I know the plot of Christmas Carol.
So young, so angry. Darn that rap music. I think that's directed at you because we're not young and we're kind of angry. I don't know. Just about Zaza.
I knew it was coming.
Honey, none of us are aging well, and well,
Woo, dude, I already got tabs on my legs.
Chippy. Basically, Scrooged seems like a very long SNL skit. I don't know that I agree with that. I think there's a moment where I think it's like Rich and I think you agree with me on this. I think it's an exceptionally well-made Christmas vehicle. Like, and when you look at this movie compared to other Christmas vehicles we've gotten over the last 30 or 40 years, like there are some that are really good, but like I think this one's aged better than some of them for me. Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel.
I mean, I think it holds together well. But to Natasha's point, though, it does have a few things that date it, like Tab or the Solid Gold Dancers, things like that. And it's kind of satirizing a very specific point in television programming.
I agree with that.
I can see where those kind of things would be tough to plug into, for somebody who's not of our age.
And I also think she's right in the hitting on the Christmas Vacation being kind of a universal thing with family. I think they get a lot of that right in that movie. But I think they get a lot of that right. So let's talk. God.
May I pop in really quick? Just to piggyback off what you said really quick with the as you get older, you start to notice the moments where you absolutely screwed up. I don't think he screwed up in that moment. What I think he did wrong was he didn't deliver it in the right way. But it's Christmas Eve. This is a chance opportunity that could never pass by, that can't be passed by, because it'll probably never come again, or you'll never know if it'll ever come again. Why is it so wrong for their survival as a couple to bend a little bit to help your partner instead of one little bump in the road and let's call it quits? So I'm looking at this.
No, I don't think that that's the case. I think there's a couple things in the script that give you an idea that they're a little bit on the rocks and that this is kind of the last straw for her. Like she says, you know, we need a break, and I know how stressful it's been, and so there's definitely stress there. I don't think it's something where I think it's a major decision, because what ends up happening is they don't talk to each other for 15 years, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
But I don't know that it's.
But it's not one that's couched in a way that is going to make her want to give in to begin with. So if that had been rephrased differently, she probably would have said, yeah, if I want to save this relationship, if I think of it's worth saving, then you know what? We can catch up with them in a couple of days. Like 2 or 3 days. I'll call them up.
I think she's written as a bohemian.
Well, that's not his problem.
No, but this is very acerbic from you, and the exact opposite of what you're looking for as a Christmas aficionado. Because I think I don't know that I've ever heard criticism that Claire could have bent here. I'm going to be honest. I've never heard that. I don't know
how many times she's bent before, and and said, you know what, he's going to be better next time. He's going to be better next time. He never bends for her. It's always the underplaying
on either end, so you don't know anything.
The only subtext I've ever gotten to that scene is that this is not something that just breaks the relationship. This is something, everything she says, like, I know you've been under a lot of pressure. And then he's working and putting the head back on. He's like, well, I'll see if I can make it. Like, I think he's canceled a bunch of other times for Frisbee the dog.
Yeah, I would definitely say yes to that. But the way he gets so worked up about, will you do something for me, for God's sake, blah, 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 blah. He
calls her selfish. He actually calls her selfish. And I don't know that a rephrasing of that is ever going to change. Like, I know you're in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. I know.
Call anyone selfish. Nothing's saving that.
Yeah, there's nothing really saving that. He calls her selfish. So I think I understand what you're saying. I like, but I also think maybe you have an unnatural hatred of Karen Allen.
Well, I'm coming at it also.
Weird.
Yes, I am. But taking my bias out of the equation for a second, I'm also coming at it from a point of, again, I'm going to compare it to a strange movie, The Devil Wears Prada, where, she slowly starts to become successful, but at the detriment of a relationship of someone who doesn't seem to really want to support her, that just kind of wants to hold her tight. And it's just like, you don't realize that as a couple, if I rise, you rise, motherfucker. Like, let me help you.
Oh, no, but
And then by the end of it, guess what? She gives him up, and of course the studio's like, you have to write them getting back together. No, you don't.
I understand, but think about the concept of what we're basing on. Christmas Carol. If you watch Muppet Christmas Carol, if you watch any Christmas Carol, there has to be the moment where Scrooge gives up on love for business, and I don't
think it sells right here. I've seen Scrooge, I've seen Christmas Carol, I've seen many different versions of Christmas Carol, but this one I don't think quite lands.
I don't
that.
know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know that this is better than A Muppet Christmas Carol. And like I said, it's in
No,
my
it's-
top 10, but not necessarily my top 5. Okay, so we got some
They're both
comments.
equally bad.
Niagara Falls,
Um,
we saw before. I agree, nostalgia at its best. Pish, the solid gold dancers are classic entertainment, Rich.
What are the solid gold dancers? Like people keep talking
Okay.
about them. I don't know what the hell you're
There
talking
was in the years before music television, there was a syndicated
called
TV
Solid
series
Gold.
called Solid Gold. And it was similar to American Bandstand. But unlike American Bandstand,
Urban.
Solid Gold
Urban.
had these, sexy dancers and that did a bunch of disco numbers and stuff every show. And for some reason, because it was, late 70s jiggle TV tits and ass, they became very famous
Very
in and of
popular.
themselves.
Yeah, they did. And they appeared at various things, various functions. There's episodes of them on the Love Boat. There's episodes they compete in,
Yeah, kind of
they
like the
compete
Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders became a thing.
it's very much a thing. They had their own choreographers that were very avant-garde in the day. Like they were doing stuff that was like not middle America stuff. And they became very popular. They were a little bit urban. It was a show that was on every Saturday at 6.
Now I'm definitely
Right,
going
Rich?
to date myself.
Somewhere
but
on the weekends. It depends on, because it was syndicated, it depends where they would drop it. Yeah.
You watched it to see, and they did the lineup. Like the lineup at the end of Footloose. Every week they would do the lineup, and they had specific dancers that were really good mixed in with regular people. And so the solid gold dancers would dance with everybody. But okay.
Is this where James? I'm sorry, I have to ask this question. I am about to date myself. Just going off of a couple of these photos of the solid gold dancers, I'm guessing this is where James Gunn ripped his Guardians of the Galaxy 2 music video for.
Might be.
Yeah.
It could be. It could be Solid Gold. It could be American Bandstand. It could be. There were a bunch of shows that had very similar things going on in the 80s because we didn't have MTV, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have TikTok. We had stuff where people would have to watch people dancing in a specific time and place.
I've watched American Bandstand. I watched the polka shows on WVIA. Like,
why would you do that? Okay. Let's talk about as we do every week, the legacy of this movie. First off, first legacy thing that has to be mentioned is they're thinking about remaking it. So I don't know. Where did she go, and why does she react in weird ways like that?
I don't know.
I don't think Karen Allen's coming back. Everything should be fine for her.
Oh, thank God.
So they are thinking about remaking it. So there's a little bit of a legacy there. But I think the legacy that you see, it's a real interesting thing. I think one of the things you have to talk about is that this is a movie where an SNL cast member is given a comedy vehicle that's situated at Christmas. And to this day, we have them. They get made every, say, 20 years, 15 years, like 15 years between this and the next one that becomes a big hit. And then, say, 20 years between that one and the one that Eddie Murphy just landed on Amazon that's doing very well, even though it's, high concept, loads of special effects, not necessarily the best movie, but it has Eddie Murphy in it kind of things. And I think that's one of the legacies of this is that the discovery that you can put an SNL cast member into a comedy centered around the holidays with a high concept and visual effects, and all of a sudden you have a movie. You have Noel with Bill Hader and Anna Kendrick. You have Elf, which we're going to talk about in a moment. You have Candy Cane Lane. You have all these movies. They're a little bit more recent, but you have these movies that they're plugged in. You take an SNL member, you give them a high concept role. The Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell movie last year, where they basically plug and played, and did a musical, right? That's basically Scrooged, but it's not Ryan Gosling,
right?
Yeah, Spirited, Ryan Reynolds.
I didn't see it, but yeah.
So yeah, but it's a high concept thing that you take somebody with an SNL background or somebody with a comedic background, you plug them into the movie, and this is what this movie kind of did, and it's the kind of thing where we keep on getting them. You know, I mentioned Noelle, I mentioned Candy Cane Lane, I mentioned Elf, I meant like Spirited was what, a year ago. These are all movies that are high concept. You know, they're going to be Santa's helper, or they're going to be an elf that lives with Santa, or they're going to be competing against the 12 days of Christmas and have to collect golden rings. You plug and play an SNL character, an SNL star, and then just add visual effects and Christmas and maybe a concept where somebody's going to get better and not be an asshole anymore. And you have a movie. Enjoy. I think that's one of the legacies. What about you, Rich?
I mean, this is the first movie that Bill Murray really did. He had a couple of smaller things in between 1984 when he did Ghostbusters and this. But this is Bill Murray back to leading man role. And it started off, you know, a kind of a cycle that, you know, he kind of worked through into the early 90s. You know, Ghostbusters 2, What About Bob, Quick Change. And so this was a good start for a phase of his career.
And Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day has to be
in there too, yeah.
But the idea that he does big concept. Like all of those movies have a big concept to them that are.
Well, come on, we all know who the real star of Caddyshack was. It was freaking the Gopher. We haven't talked about Ghostbusters.
I'm sorry.
But that was 82. That's the
one. That's the one movie that Chevy Chase actually can say he's responsible for. That and Fletch are the only two.
I don't care. The Gopher is the star of that movie, and everyone knows it.
Ted Knight and Rodney Dangerfield would strongly disagree.
The Ghost of Each.
They're not alive, so it doesn't matter.
Wow. Ooh. See, that's where I think you need to lose the Christmas aficionado thing. You're mean. You're one of those angry.
Look at my tag. It doesn't say Christmas aficionado. It says the violent one this week. So
let's get some comments. Hold on. Let's see. Holy shit, we got a lot of them. Let's see. Thank the late Michael Nesmith for your MTV.
Every day.
Make Karen Allen a Ghost of Christmas Past, just for Natasha. My favorite vehicle was the Maltese Bippy.
The Maltese Bippy, starring the great Rowan Martin. Not my favorite comedy, but I did like it enough to get a lobby card from the movie off of eBay once, a long time ago.
I think there are enough Christmas Carol content out there. Do we need more? I don't know that we do, but I do know that that is one of the touchstone things. I also know it's in the public domain.
Blue hairs love it.
That's part of why we have it. But I'll give you one. Like I think isn't somebody's doing a Christmas Carol again, right? I know there was a Christmas Carol dark show that was on FX. There was also a Christmas Carol that was Patrick Stewart. It was fantastic.
That came out in 2002.
In December of 1990, I went to a Doctor Who convention in Long Island, and I saw Tom Baker read A Christmas Carol, and it was one of the most amazing things of my life. The story itself is so infinitely malleable. You can stick Muppets into this story. You can stick Bill Murray and reframe it in a modern context. I'm sure somebody's going to do a Star Wars version with the 3 Force ghosts of Christmas. You know,
that's actually happening on Ahsoka. I think Kristen Bell would have been a better Pepper, in my opinion. They're talking about Candy Cane Lane. A lot of fun. Not a great movie. I can no longer watch Groundhog Day. Interesting. That whole stuck in time ramps up my anxiety. Fair. Wow, Quick Change. I remember liking that flick. I have to find it. Quick Change is actually, I know this is gonna, as a Bill Murray aficionado, like our young friend to the bottom here is a Christmas aficionado. Quick Change might be my all-time favorite Bill Murray movie. I'm not saying not Ghostbusters, obviously, but Quick Change Quick Change is genius. Quick Change is one of my
I
all-time
haven't watched
favorite.
it in a very long time. I do. That's something I should probably.
What
pick
kind of
back up.
clown are you? I'm a crying on the inside kind, I guess. One of the
Okay,
greatest ones ever.
I'm sorry. I'm actually Googling it right now.
Quick Change.
It's a
with
bank
Gina
robbery
Davis
movie.
And yeah, it's
The
fun.
Little Theater's
I've
doing
never
it here.
heard of it. Little Theater?
Fred-
Color
and
me,
Fred-
color me surprised.
And Fred Flintstone. Quick Change is Bill Murray, Gina Davis, and Randy Quaid, and Jason Robards. It's a fantastic movie. It's
I know,
amazing.
I pulled it up.
It's beautiful. But I think the other legacy here is that, again, plugging people in is where you go. You plug in an SNL person. We had, again, Bill Gadavakis, who writes for your Film Buff Online. I know he did one for Noel. Noel is Bill Hader, great SNL comedian, who doesn't want to be Santa Claus. And Noel is Anna Kendrick, who wants to be Santa Claus. But she's a girl and she can't be. But then she gets to try to take over, that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with when you're around Christmas. We want high concept stuff. We want stuff that lands and hits, or Candy Cane Lane doesn't all the way land, but it's as close a vehicle as you're going to get from Scrooged. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She's still looking up the Quick Change.
I'm looking up Christmas movies from the 2000s. Technically, Christmas with the Cranks didn't land with a lot of people. I enjoy it just if I want to just shut my freaking brain off at Christmas time when I'm like putting.
Have you seen Noel? You'd like Noel.
I haven't seen Noel. Noel yet.
No, that's a totally different Christmas movie.
But Dan Aykroyd's in that.
So other things, let's see.
I'm trying to help out your here.
I understand that. First introduced to Bill Murray was Meatballs, and that is my favorite of his other than Ghostbusters. Meatballs is pretty Bill Murray in its meth form. Like Meatballs is like tapping a vein, and it just doesn't matter.
I actually saw parts of Meatballs recently while getting my tires changed.
That's the weirdest thing. This is the second weird. What are they showing in tire places nowadays? Because that you're the second person that said a totally weird film to me while waiting for their tires to get changed.
If Natasha went to the same place that I went to about a year ago when I was getting my car inspected, they had satellite TV. And while my car was being inspected, I sat there and I watched Danger Diabolique.
Unbelievable.
The last time I was at a tire shop, they were playing The Matrix, and I sat there and I just mouthed along. I freaked out half the other people who were sitting next to me.
Writes, I'm with you here. I've never seen or heard of Quick Change. Sean, I'm not going to lie. I don't know how Rich feels about it, but Quick Change, it's a really great comedy. It's about a bank robbery. So it has all of the elements of a bank robbery movie coupled with Bill Murray really kind of just like they can't get out of New York. It's really a great movie. It's only an hour and a half, super short. I can't tell you how much you will love it if you decide to watch it. Now here it's going to be turned to be visited by 3 spirits this year. Ooh.
You missed a good one. How did you miss this?
The Christmas Chronicles 2 had me in tears. I like the Christmas Chronicles. I think they're decent. Like the big budget, big timey. What one did I miss? I'll have to check it out.
It's not exactly a Christmas movie, but 8 Crazy Nights.
I missed that on purpose. I don't care that it's a Hanukkah movie. It's just not a good movie.
But it's SNL, and it's the holidays. You still have to mention it, good or bad.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I understand that, and I mean, I think the most interesting thing that's come out of tonight's episode, Rich, aside from Natasha occasionally hating me and fighting with me, is that she hates Karen Allen more, which is interesting. Because how could you possibly? Maybe she hates Karen Allen, Rich, and I'm going to say this as best I can. Maybe she hates Karen Allen, Rich, because Karen Allen is getting close to you. Maybe it's just a little bit of jealousy.
So far apart.
A little bit of jealousy.
Ow.
A little bit of jealousy is all I'm saying. It makes the world go round. I'll have to check it out. Thanks, Sean. We appreciate you. JW apparently changed places or knew any movie places to be. Tire change. Yeah, Joe knows what I'm talking about. Again, just a weird. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, you and I know. You know what I'm talking about. But again, the idea that this movie was just on in the middle of fucking a tire place, I have no idea. I love Eight Crazy Nights. I think it's a good movie. I just don't know that it's. I guess it does get mentioned. It's part of plugging somebody in, but it's a cartoon, so it's not really plugging him in. And I think
were you watching at the tire shop? That's what I want to know.
Not me. I didn't say it was me.
Well,
I just
then
said,
who was it? And I don't care who it was. What was it?
I don't want to say. But I will go to my
You want to
grave.
say what it was? How bad could this movie be? Were they playing Caligula?
Because it would out me. It would out me, Natasha. It would out me because it was something that somebody put online, and I might have written a few messages to people going, I don't fucking believe a word of this. And now you're saying to me, weird movies are appearing at tire shops. Yes. So maybe in Pennsylvania, you fuckers have a problem. I don't know. I don't know. And I just gave more information than I needed to. Anyway.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You said PA. That doesn't narrow it down. Trust me.
It does. Nat bears resemblance to Karen out. Ooh. Oh.
Take that back right now.
Karen Allen is widely regarded as a very good-looking actress. This is gold. I appreciate you, Joe. But all good things must come to an end. I think we're going to get into the legacy and franchise viability with this movie because next week, as we prepare for the end of our holiday session, next week we get this movie, Natasha, which has
a movie that I hated as a kid that grew on me as I became an adult.
I think it's one of the more brilliant comedy films that Will Ferrell's done. I also want to say, I think the interesting thing about it is that it's eminently quotable and that we don't talk nearly enough about how great Peter Dinklage is in it. Those are my favorite things. But also, I consistently, on a consistent basis during the holidays, say, "Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?" Like I answer the phone that way during the holidays. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Santa.
I love it.
So we have a gentleman who comes to my brand.
You're not Santa. You're not Santa. You sit on a throne of lies. You smell like beef and cheese. Are some of the greatest lines I will say to people I don't like.
We had a gentleman who came through our drive up the other day. So my day job is I work at a bank. And
What bank do you work for?
I'm not telling because then people will come and bother me. Just
because I used to work for a bank too. We have more in common.
We'll talk off mic on that. Yeah. Anyway, So he came through my drive up. He's a local Santa, a big local Santa. And I got really excited when I saw him in the window.
We're all big. We don't need to be judged.
I was just saying.
In terms of fame.
Santa is here.
I know, but I had to call you on it. You want to punch Karen Allen?
I know. What?
Nothing. Fast. Okay. Santa. Okay. I haven't seen Elf all the way through this weekend. Okay. It's a pretty great movie. Zooey Deschanel. You don't want to punch her, right? I mean, okay. I just want to make sure because then we have a problem. Oh, bang! She is Scrooged. Laugh out loud. Oh. Somebody's got like a femme fatale thing going on. It's like single white female in this bitch. But okay, so next week, Generation movie, our final movie of 2023, our final show of 2023. Natasha, do you want to come back for Elf, Natasha?
I will be here.
Well, that started out very dark and then it just ended. Okay, I'm glad you're going to be here. Rich, actually, Natasha's the guest. Natasha, what do you have coming up? Where can people find you on the socials? And what do you got going on? And by the way, I do want to throw this in your face a little bit. Die Hard, I know you're complaining to somebody who we may have in common. Die Hard, by the way, grossed $1 million this weekend. and Love Actually did not. So I just want
I told you, Rich. I fucking told you it was a competition.
Of course,
It is not a competition. We all won by having both films in the theaters.
Yes,
and if people were smart, they could have done an Alan Rickman double feature.
They could have. Yes.
Most people don't know Alan Rickman is in Love Actually unless you've seen Love Actually.
Well, I'm sorry that not enough people have seen Love Actually, and I'm sorry that Die Hard is such a great Christmas movie that everybody wanted to see it for its 35th anniversary, and it grossed $1 million over the weekend. I was so happy for it. Adding to the total, 35 years later. So excited. Go ahead. Where can they find you on socials? What do you have coming up? Jesus.
Go ahead. Do my stuff for me.
What? No. He has his own stuff.
Honest, for a while, the holidays kill me doing any sort of work. So the thing I have coming up right now is a Christmas party this weekend. So hold on, wait, you're gonna love this. I'm gonna give you guys a sneak peek into my apartment right now. So I have all the servingware that I just washed, and I'm in the dining room and I'm segregated from everything, and massive fucking bar over there.
We're trying to end the show, Natasha.
So, yes, I don't.
Where can people find your shit, Natasha?
Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. There.
Boom. Rich, what do you got going on? What do you got coming up this week?
All of my writing can be found at filmbuffonline.com. If this wasn't enough of this silliness, you can also listen to Natasha and myself on our other podcast, the Big Picture Podcast, at bigpicturepod.com, or just follow the link at filmbuffonline.com. You can find the website on Facebook, where we also have, in addition to links to new content that goes up on the main site, a lot of history posts per day. Like, for example, to stay on the Saturday Night Live tip, on this day in 1982, Eddie Murphy became the only Saturday Night Live cast member to ever host the show while still being a cast member. It was a controversial decision from producer Dick Ebersol, and a lot of people backstage were not happy about it. But the host was supposed to be Nick Nolte this particular week, and Nick Nolte called up and said, "I'm just too exhausted." Translation: he partied too much that whole week and couldn't do the show.
Was it to promote 48 hours?
Yeah, to promote 48 hours.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Yep. And additionally, I can be found on the socials at on Blue Sky and Twitter at FilmBuffRich.
Okay, so you can find me, JW the Movie Guy.
Oh, one more from Natasha there, I think.
Go ahead. What do you got, Natasha?
Rich.
What?
Plug what we're doing next week on the show.
Oh, next week, on the podcast, we had to cancel this week due to some circumstances that are private. But
I'll just say it. I had a death in my family, so
well, I didn't want.
You didn't have to say it. You didn't have to say it.
No one needs to.
Oh, just saying. Go ahead.
Okay. Next week, however, we will be talking about The Crown, the magnum opus of fictionalized version of the life of Queen Elizabeth, and basically the history of England from 1950 something to
52
to 2012.
Stop looking up.
2020
I beg of you.
What?
Stop looking up like he's in a fucking Brady Bunch thing. Stop. You stop looking down too. You know better. You know better. JW. Okay, so people can find my stuff, JW the Movie Guy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. You can also find me on Blue Sky and all the other things. I have the JW the Movie Guy page. We also have Whamageddon that's ongoing right now. A lot of people have died in the first week.
I died the first day.
Yeah, we might have shirts. We're gonna have shirts. Also, you can find me here tomorrow night on the Indie Escape Network with a little show I like to call Loud Nerdy with my very good friends Jerry Kimura and Kyle DeFina, and we'll be talking about some cool stuff like whether or not the Boy and the Heron's going to put a monkey wrench into Wonka, or anything else that could go wrong for Wonka as we get ready for Wonka this week.
Can I just say that it's amazing that this past weekend at the box office, the top 2 films were Japanese films that are subtitled.
Glorious.
It's
Glorious,
amazing.
wonderful.
I love it. I mean, this
Glorious
weekend
and
was
wonderful. And
weird
and,
bananas at the box office,
and
anyways. Like we talked
Godzilla.
about last week.
I'm not gonna say this lightly, but I know Japan probably already has a movie in contention for whatever Academy Award. Godzilla should be fucking nominated.
It should have been.
Godzilla's good enough to get nominated for Godzilla -1 is good enough to get nominated for best foreign picture.
The Japanese entry for best international film, because it was produced in Japan with Japanese money, is actually Wim Wenders' most recent film.
That's ridiculous, and
it's
it
absolutely
should be -1. We need to change it.
Yes.
But we've gone really long tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you sticking with us. We got really long.
Time.
Yeah, really, really long. I know you like that book. Thank you for joining us. We'll see everybody next week for Elf. Have a great week. Enjoy yourselves. Go to a movie. Wonka's coming out. It's gonna be big.